SpongeBob has had many holiday-themed episodes throughout its long run, but far and away the most iconic and beloved among them would be his Christmas specials. Because let's face it, who better than a character as wholesome as SpongeBob SquarePants would know how to celebrate one of the most wholesome holidays on Earth? And today, I'd like to celebrate a little Christmas in July by ranking all of SpongeBob's Christmas specials from worst to best. Now please do note here that I will only be considering the 4 official Christmas specials that the show has had as of the making of this video. So no live streams, shorts, episodes to feature Santa or as Christmas imagery but isn't explicitly centered around the holiday, or compilations will be mentioned. And as always, there will be spoilers ahead as well. So in case you haven't seen any of these specials yet but would like to, please feel free to come back to this video another day. You have been warned. Okay, so starting with number 4, and this being the worst, would have to be SpongeBob's Road to Christmas. Now on paper, the idea of SpongeBob wanting to give a present to Santa Claus, only for St. Nick to miss it, motivating SpongeBob and Patrick to take a trip to the North Pole to give it to him, all the while Plankton tags along because he believes the gift to Santa is the Krabby Patty formula, doesn't sound like a bad idea, if one that's been done elsewhere. The problem, however, is that it takes this idea and runs away with it with reckless abandon, resulting in a very weird Christmas special, even by SpongeBob standards. To put it simply, it almost feels like a drug trip than a holiday episode, and while that has suited SpongeBob well in other ventures, it doesn't really feel like Christmas all that much. And not to mention, depicting the surface world entirely in animation is also a bit off-putting. Especially because SpongeBob has famously always depicted the real world in live action with few exceptions. So seeing such things as Patchy the Pirate or the entire North Pole in the same animation style as everything underwater just makes it weirder. Sure, it's understandable why they did it that way, but it's still something worth mentioning. In the end, it's just too weird and out there to really be considered a good Christmas special. Now, coming in at number 3 would then be Sandy's Country Christmas. Now, disregarding the fact that this episode is directly tied to that insanely awful Sandy Cheeks movie and trying to judge it solely on its own merits, if SpongeBob's Road to Christmas's biggest problem is that it's too weird, then Sandy's Country Christmas's is that it's too generic. Because let's face it, somebody accidentally ruining Christmas by hurting Santa Claus, falling into depression, and then resolving to save Christmas by delivering the presents themselves is a story we've all seen before. And the special doesn't really offer up anything in the way of SpongeBob uniqueness to make it stand out. It's completely by the numbers, and as a result feels very cliche. Frankly, the best moment in the whole episode might just be Slappy's reaction to Santa's pratfall, since one isn't likely to see that in too many other Christmas specials. And also, this special suffers from a distinct lack of Patchy the Pirate, because he had managed to appear in every other Christmas special the show had made up until that point, and they should have found a way to put him in here. He could have even filled in for Frenchie and narrated the special instead, because his absence only makes the episode feel even more generic without his special brand of humorous antics. All around, it's not terrible so much as predictable and uninspired. And next at number 2 would be It's a SpongeBob Christmas. Now, unlike the previous 2 specials mentioned, this one manages to mix SpongeBob absurdity with a unique plot, and thus makes for a special that could only come from SpongeBob SquarePants while also feeling like Christmas at the same time, conspiring to get on Santa's nice list so that he'll get the Krabby Patty formula for Christmas. Plankton spikes fruitcake with a chemical that turns everyone into jerks, making him seem better by comparison. which isn't a bad idea, since as I noted in another video, which you can find a link in the description to, a good villain does make the hero look better through their evil actions, and Plankton's trying to present himself as the hero after all. But when he realizes that Spongebob is so innocent that he's immune to the chemical, he sends out a robot look-alike to do bad deeds as compensation, only for said robot to go rogue and nearly destroy Santa, causing his scheme to fall apart. Now obviously this episode isn't perfect, particularly because it never explains how Santa didn't realize that Plankton was behind everything and instead plays right into his hands, as well as why he and everyone else falls for the Spongebob robot when it looks nothing like him. But it's still a fun time regardless, because again, it's a Christmas plot that feels distinctly Spongebob, both as far as the little yellow sponge and Patchy the Pirate goes. Manages to capture the wholesome feelings of Christmas, is pretty funny, has some pretty catchy songs, and is overall pretty engaging. And all of this while being animated in stop motion that deliberately harkens back to Radkin Bass Christmas specials. How can it not be pretty good with that going for it? But as I said, it isn't perfect, and its flaws are why it doesn't take the #1 spot. Because that would of course belong to the original SpongeBob Christmas special, Christmas Who, telling the story of how Bikini Bottom was introduced to the holiday and caused everybody to get so caught up in the Christmas spirit except for Squidward, only for things to end up in disappointment when Santa is a no-show until Squidward has a change of heart. It doesn't really get much better than this, because not only does it flawlessly capture the feelings that Christmas evokes through the characters' excitement at having their first Christmas, but it also manages to be heartfelt in a way that only SpongeBob can be, particularly in how Squidward, who spent the entire episode scoffing at all things Christmas, becomes so touched by SpongeBob's gift that he pretends to be Santa to pull him out of his depression, only for him to not drop the act and commit to it when his disguise works too well. Because that may be funny, but it's also pretty touching. And not to mention, this special also gets points for being the one to introduce Patchy the Pirate, and contains many of his best gags in the entire show. To put it simply, only SpongeBob could have made such a Christmas special, and it uses that to its fullest advantage in all of the best ways that no later special was quite able to capture, which is what firmly lands it in first place here. Alright, I think I've gone on about this for long enough. So now I want to hear what you guys think. Which would you say is the best SpongeBob Christmas special and why? And how would your ranking of them stack up against mine? Please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Because keep in mind that this video was simply my personal opinion on this topic and that you are under no obligation to agree with it just because you watched it. You can feel about SpongeBob's 4 Christmas specials and which one is the best however you want to, and if you think I had it all wrong, that is totally fine. And thank you all for watching. It is all really appreciated, and I hope to see you all next time.